Asking for help is really hard for some of us. And the worst possible thing that could happen after you have gotten the courage to go tell somebody that you're struggling and you need some help with something is when they don't show up. And you might be tempted to be like, nope, tried that. We're not going to do that again. That rejection hurt too much. But I want to encourage you to ask yourself a few questions before you totally give up, because you maybe just need a few tweaks, and you definitely deserve to have people show up for you. I'm Stacy Rocklein, and I help people create meaningful relationships through healthy communication. So when we ask for help, it can be different kinds of help. It can be tasks like we've got just too much to do, we're overwhelmed, we're busy, we can't get it all done. It might be that you need emotional help, like just you've got an emotional burden for whatever reason, and you need to unload that a little bit. You need to process it or brainstorm or vent or whatever, and you need to do it with someone else. There's nothing that feels more lonely than to be struggling and not being able to reach out to people. So you reach out to somebody, you're like, okay, I'm struggling, I need some help, and they don't show up. There are a few different things that can be happening, and I want to break those down, okay? The first question is, who did you ask for help? And not everybody can show up for you. We might have this idea that like we want our spouse or our best friend or our mom to show up for this task. Like we think they're the right person for this job, but if they're not capable of it or they're not willing to do it, that's not the right person to ask. So they may not be able to show up just because they can't or they're not willing. And you have to trust yourself on this one, because someone might be telling you like, oh, I can totally do that. I can totally do that. But you know, it's not really a good fit. So asking yourself that question, who am I going to ask before you ask, is really important, because there's two things that I want for you. Number one, I want you to not feel overwhelmed anymore. I want you to have the burden taken off you. I want you to have help with that connection. But also, I don't want you to keep adding to the narrative of, see, nobody's there for me. See, nobody shows up for me, especially when it's just because you're asking the wrong person. If the more you believe that myth, the less likely you are to ask for help. So, very first question, who should I ask for help? Okay, after that, you want to think of some other things. You want to think about like what exactly I need from them. Because when we're just like, I'm struggling, I need help, that's pretty vague, and people can't read our minds, and they may not know what to do with that. So if they don't know what to do with that, what they're going to do is guess. They're going to guess, they're going to think like, okay, well, this is what I would want, and they're going to show up that way for you. Like if you've ever been in a conversation where you just really needed to be acknowledged and validated, you needed someone to listen, and they came in because you said, I need help, and they're like, I'm your girl, and they just start problem solving and reassuring and doing all the things you don't need. It's not their fault. They're doing the best they can, but you feel alone still. You don't feel supported, and you don't feel like they showed up for you, when actually all that happened is they didn't know how to show up for you. So that's another question you ask yourself. How do I want this person to show up for me? And that will give them more specifics. You can say, you know what? I just need someone to listen. Or, you know what? I don't want you to come over and clean my house, but if you could pick up the kids from school or whatever it is, if you're very specific about what you need, you equip the other person with the information they need so that they can show up for you. And the last thing I want to add is this. If you're a strong person who has notoriously not asked for help, in the past, you've just been someone who figures it out, you do it on your own, you don't need anybody, you don't need help, then all the people in your life have been trained to believe that about you. And when you finally go, I need something, they're like, you're fine, you got it, you always figure it out, you can handle it, and it feels like nobody showed up. But it's because we're changing the story for them. We're changing the roles. We're retraining people. And in the process of retraining, it's not a one and done. Like, tried it once, didn't work, I'm giving up. You're going to have to do it a few times. You're going to have to do it over and over until they suddenly realize, oh, well, she's not really as strong as I thought she was. Maybe she does need my help. Because we're giving someone else such an opportunity to get to know us in our vulnerable state, to get close to us, to feel good, because helping feels good. And when you say to somebody, oh my gosh, I need help, you're basically saying, I value you and I trust you and I want you in my life, and can you help me with this? It's actually a brilliant opportunity for a relationship. So just because they've been trained to leave it for you to do doesn't mean they can't be retrained to show up for you differently. So those are the few little pieces of advice I have for you if you're feeling like when you ask for help, nobody shows up for you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just ask yourself these questions and see if you can make some adjustments so that you start to get that support you need and you start to have that connection that you desire. And if you would like to be in a supportive community where people do like to show up for each other, you can come join my free Facebook group, and we would love to be a little part of your world so that you get the support you need, at least as much as we can give you virtually. You get resources, you get tools, you get a community of wonderful people who care deeply about their relationships. You are welcome to join us.